It's time again for the Insiders with Chuck Chvala and Scott Jensen, sponsored by the Wisconsin Counties Association and the Tommy G. Thompson Center on Public Leadership.
Hi, I'm Scott Jensen, former Assembly Speaker.
And I'm Chuck Chvala, former Senate Majority Leader.
We're the Insiders. Today, we're going to take a look at the Trump administration. I'm going to ask Chuck, what policies from that administration do you think will have the biggest impact on us here in Wisconsin?
Well, it's a good question, Scott. And I think there are a lot of things that people anticipate might be a big issue. For example, is he going to go back and 64 times try to get rid of Obamacare? I don't think that's going to happen. The Medicaid system, is he going to destroy it? Or is he going to say everybody's under it? Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen either. There are a variety of things that could be done. But I think the one that would probably have the greatest impact that I see potentially hanging out there because it's past his prologue is tariffs. If the president actually institutes tariffs, that could have a major impact. And it's not something that you think of like these big political issues. It's dairy farmers and other farmers in Wisconsin export a lot of our crops. And that kind of situation, if you're hit with tariffs, oftentimes the retaliatory move of the other country, in this case, oftentimes Canada or China, is to knock out your agricultural products as being something that they will accept. They'll put tariffs on them. So that's something that could hurt us pretty significantly. Even though fewer and fewer people in Wisconsin are employed in agriculture, it's still a huge, huge industry for the state of Wisconsin, and it has a lot of implications. All the equipment that farmers buy, all these different things that go on. And it's just at a core. We are America's dairyland still. So I think that's the one that could have the biggest impact. I think a lot of the other things that people are thinking about are probably going to be less impactful. Although when Canada comes in as the 51st state, I'm glad to know that we'll be bordering another state.
Well, I think you're right on the subject of tariffs. It could cut either way, right? I mean, tariffs will inevitably raise prices. Consumers already think prices are too high, but can protect domestic industries. Someone might retaliate, and then other industries will get attacked. So it'll be interesting to see how the tariff thing plays out. Immigration is another issue where it'll be interesting to see what the impact is here in Wisconsin. If the president's team focuses on getting rid of violent people, people who have committed crimes and are even in a jail somewhere in America at the moment, and deport those people, well, that'll have a great impact on public safety in our country. But if they are doing mass deportations of people, we're going to have industries here in Wisconsin that count on that labor who will be in trouble, like the dairy industry that you mentioned. They need those workers in order to get their product to the market. So those two issues, I think, are the ones where it could go either way, but it's going to have an impact, no doubt, on the state of Wisconsin.
I think Scott's point about immigration is really important. And let me give you this take on it. What's interesting, the average person that supported Trump and really was into immigration, the argument was they're taking your jobs. By the way, if they're murderers and they're in prison, they're not taking jobs. And yet those are the people that Trump will deport. And I think most Americans will probably be just fine with that. The problem is if you go in and grab those other folks who really aren't oftentimes taking a lot of other Americans' jobs, like I know dairy farmers and I know other farmers who can't get anybody but oftentimes undocumented people doing this work. And if they start taking those people away, it's actually going to harm Wisconsin's economy. So it's a really weird thing. I think Trump will do the visible thing. Scott is absolutely right. They're going to deport anybody who's been convicted of a crime of some type, and they'll get rid of maybe 10,000, maybe even 50,000 people at the high end. I doubt that they're going to go after this. And why is part of that going on? It's not just the farmers, but if you go to plants and you start doing plant raids and you take 500 people out of commission in a slaughterhouse or something, that's going to hurt the economy around that community. An employer who's probably a Republican, and I don't think that Trump is he's not going to do it. If he does that, he won't do it very long because he's going to get a lot of blowback. People in industry, the owners of industry. So it's interesting the dynamics that the immigration side will have. And I think that's why it won't have a big impact. Deporting the people who have committed crimes, I think most people are going to be okay with that.
On the tariffs question, the one thing you have to recognize is Trump's a negotiator at heart. At least he thinks that he's the best negotiator ever. And so he always has that opening bid, right? So you're sort of shocked, like we're going to have 100% tariff on all products from Mexico. Well, maybe they'll have that until they get a border deal with regards to immigration with Mexico. And gosh, we don't need to have tariffs there. So I think a lot of this is like the Greenland and Canada talk, is all about setting up the negotiations that he's hoping to get to the answer that he already has in mind.
Scott, I just want you to know, I have more faith in our president. I know he will make Canada our 51st state, and I cannot wait. We'll see you next time.
Same page then.
We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to The Insiders with Chuck Chvala and Scott Jensen, sponsored by the Wisconsin Counties Association and the Tommy G. Thompson Center on Public Leadership.